This is Dave Bolduc, Dowdella Valley. Just wanted to check in, say hi. It's going to be warming up over the weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. Just wanted to talk to you today about, we've talked about buyer broker agreements. We've talked about how you research online, houses, things like that. I want to talk a little bit today about what you're envisioning for the house that you want to buy. So you can buy the pretty houses, the ugly houses, or new construction. Those are kind of the general topics or general categories that I kind of pulled together. So you got to think to yourself, are you looking for something you're going to move in and it's perfect? That's a pretty house. Are you looking something that you want to put a little sweat equity into, or you want to have some say in the matter as to what it looks like? Maybe that's one of the ugly houses. Or are you looking for something where you want to go from the ground up? You want to buy a piece of property or buy a house from a builder who's already got a piece of property, and then you design the layout and the architectural plans and the whole nine. That's new construction. So there's a few things that you need to think about as you're thinking about that, as you're trying to decide how you want to approach that. The first one is something that we really don't have any general or major control over. That's the market. So in Connecticut, in Greater New Haven area, actually in Connecticut, there's 1.5 million housing units, round numbers. So that a housing unit is a single family house, or like a 3-family would be 3 housing units. So there's a little over 1.5 million. In the last year, in 2017, which is the last time I have data, we built about 4,600 new units in that year. So that's about 0.3%. So there's not a lot of new construction going on. So that's just something to think about. There's going to be competition to be able to charge a premium, things to think about. Now, some more data. 26% of the houses in the Greater New Haven area are 80 years or older. So that means that they got a little long in the teeth. They've been around for a while. It doesn't mean they're bad houses. They can be great houses, very solid houses. I own a house that's almost 120 years old, and it's actually 140 years old, and it's great. But just something to think about if they haven't been maintained or if it hasn't been updated. There's potential some work that's where some of those ugly houses come in. About 14% of houses in the New Haven County area have negative equity, which means that they owe more to the bank than the house is worth, which speaks to the next thing, which since in February of 2009, 10 years ago, according to Zillow, the average house price or the median house price in New Haven County was $228,000. This year, February 2019, it's about $215,000. So the good news is we've pretty much recovered from that big dip that started in 2007, 2008, 2009, but we haven't gone above that. So why am I bringing that up? Well, that comes to the next thing I was going to talk about is what are you willing to do and what do you want? So if you want that brand new, absolutely perfect home, then you've got to buy a house that was already built and just recently, and it is perfect. It's exactly what you want. It's going to be tough to find, but you can find them. Be ready to pay a little bit of a premium. If you're willing to put in a little hard work and some sweat equity and work with some contractors and get some things done, you can buy one of those ugly houses and fix it up. And the reason I talk about those houses is, a lot of houses on the market today are in that category where they just haven't had the renovation or the updates that you would expect, in the HGTV age. The reason for that is some of the data that I just gave you. Most people will use equity in their house. They've lived there for 15, 20, 25 years and they've paid down the mortgage. So they have some equity in the house. Here's the mortgage is coming down. Here's the value of the house. Hopefully it's going up. That difference there is their equity. They'll take that, get a home equity loan, and they'll fix up the kitchen, fix up the bathrooms, things like that. Well, we've had quite a bit of time of downward equity or downward value, and then it started to come back up. So people really don't have a lot of equity in their houses, so they really haven't done those upgrades. That presents an opportunity for the buyer today because you can get that house at a little bit lower price, and then if you fix it up, make it nice, it adds some value, and it gives you an opportunity to have a house that you really put a lot of your own taste and own desires and layouts into for a little bit less money. But you got to be willing to do a little bit of work and work with some contractors, things like that. And then the final thing to think about is how much can you afford? This one, you got to talk to a lender. I've talked about that in the past. The best thing to do is connect up with a lender. You can talk to your realtor, and you can talk to me, and I can give you some recommendations as to who to talk to. Your lender will be able to give you an idea of how much you can afford, and then they'll be able to talk you really through the process of if you want to do one of those home renovation loans where you buy the quote unquote ugly house. It puts you in a position where you might be able to, build some sweat equity into a house. So those are the three things you really need to be thinking about as you're trying to decide what type of a house, the new construction, pretty house that's, perfect and just going to move in, or a house that, I say ugly, but it's just not updated and, up to date as to what you would expect if you look at it like an HGTV show. And then, you got to think about the market. You got to think about what you want and what you're willing to do. And then you got to think about how much you can afford. So take a look at those things. Give me a call if you want to talk about it a little bit more. Every one of those options that I just told you is real. The pretty house, the ugly house, or the new construction. It's a different path. And not one is not right and the other one's wrong. It's what you need. And I can help you out with any one of those. So let's give me a call. We'll talk and then figure out what we can do. You have a good day and enjoy the weather that warms up over the weekend.